States. Back in May, he said that ban was merely a suggestion, but a much different tone yesterday in the wake of the Orlando terror attack.
We have to be very strong in terms of looking at the mosques, which a lot of people say, oh, we don't want to do that, we don't want to do that. We're beyond that.
I called for a ban after San Bernardino and was met with great scorn and anger. Many are saying that I was right to do so, and although the pause is temporary, we must find out what is going on. We have to do it. It will be lifted, this ban, when and as a nation we're in a position to properly and perfectly screen these people coming into our country.
But should we have more surveillance on mosques? Here are concerns one member of the mosque Mateen attended now has following these events.
Do you worry that there could be others?
Yes, I do worry very much, and from now on I will be keeping an eye on our youth, talking to them more frequently. I feel the people who talk more, they're more easier to understand because you know what they're saying, where they're coming from, and if you hear something bad, then you can always report it. But the people who are quiet, those are the ones who are...
Like Omar.
Like Omar, he was very quiet. I mean, those are the people who are dangerous.
Back with us is Defeating Jihad author Dr. Sebastian Gorka. I have to ask you one thing. So that gentleman just said, from now on, he's going to monitor their own mosque. I mean,
yeah.
At what point do we just have to say, thank you very much, but we are going to be doing this as well? And maybe we shouldn't announce that we're going to do some surveillance.
It's not good to do that in advance.
Maybe we shall stop talking about it.
Let me share with you a recent ISIS story from America. A man was recruited by ISIS who lived in New York, upstate New York. And he went mosque shopping. This is what we see with jihadis. They want to go more deeper and deeper down the trail of jihad. He shopped 7 mosques and was kicked out of 6 of them. None of those mosque leaders told the FBI. Now, there are 2 ways to get radicalized. Through the internet or through a radical imam. Are we just going to ignore half of the places where somebody could get recruited? Whether it's Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, whether it's all the terrorists we've seen in the mainland US in the last 15 years. It is a combination of the internet and radical imams. Where are the radical imams to be found? At the baseball game? Or to be found at the mosque? Yeah. So the idea that we just close our eyes to these things means that, again, somebody is going to miss the signals because they do not tell the authorities when somebody walks down the pathway of jihad.
Eric, you have something?
Yeah, help us clear this up, Doctor. There's a lot of discussion on Sharia law. Does Sharia law, does the Quran say to kill the infidel, and the infidel is defined as gay, a sinner, or anyone who doesn't pledge allegiance to Islam?
I tell all Americans, whether you wear a uniform or not or carry a badge, after 9/11 all Americans should have a Quran because so much is spun about Islam. Why don't you go to the primary source? Why don't you leaf through to chapter 9 verse 29? Why don't you leaf through to chapter 9 verse 4 or 5, which says, the holy months are past, hunt down the infidel, besiege them with every stratagem of war, unless they convert, kill them. Now, you can't pass that. It's true, the Quran has very nice, specific things to say about infidels, but it has both. You can find whatever you want in it. It is not, you just cannot say this is simply a religion of peace and this is all about frustrated homoerotic fantasies that are being suppressed by people living in Orlando. No, it is people who are following a pathway that has been established.
I think you give them too much credit, especially to this 29-year-old who's, to me, mentally ill and clearly struggling with this sexual issue, sexuality. I mean, to me, the bigger point here is when you have something like people talking about surveillance of churches, I don't think that's very American. I think Republicans in the Congress have been pointing out today they are not for that. They don't want people going into Catholic churches saying, what's that Pope up to? No. What we want to do is go after people who we can see there's evidence of terrorism and terrorist activity. That's what we want.
Like the radical Islam.
Can I say one thing?
I think that we have protection of religion in this
Can I
country.
respond to this? This is what drives me crazy. Okay. Apology to biker gangs everywhere, but imagine if there were chapters of a biker gang, let's say it was Hell's Angels, all throughout the country, and there was trouble coming from those gangs. No one would have a problem surveilling them. So we are giving an exemption based on a religion, which to me is absurd. I don't care if it's Islam, I don't care if it's Mormon, Scientology, Catholicism. If there is something emanating from certain chapters that is dangerous, you receive no special exemption because you are a religion. That is baloney, because that enables anybody to start a religion in order to create some kind of criminal activity. It's wrong.
Yeah, and this is well within the laws. I mean, you can go, when you have evidence and leads like this, probable cause to believe that criminal activity is occurring and that individuals there are part of that, that's the obligation of law enforcement to go ahead and in our intelligence community to make us safe. When you have over and over again evidence, as Dr. Gorka said, of these radical imams, you know, getting these guys to do this, perform these acts of jihad, whether or not they're self-radicalized on the internet or not, you have to chase that down. Why wouldn't we? Because we're too afraid to offend them? I don't think the Pope is calling for jihad and killing the infidel, is he? But if they were doing it in the Catholic Church or anywhere else, then they should go there. To exclude and give an exemption in the face of stark, compelling evidence is really inappropriate. And that's what this administration is doing, and 49 more bodies on his count now.
If the Ku Klux Klan in the 50s that were lynching Americans said, let's have our meetings in a church, would the FBI say, oh, switch off the microphone? I mean, religion is not a shield for the bad guys.
Do you remember how celebrities on Twitter and people in the media love to go after Westboro, a Christian church of like 13 members who stand out and do horrible things in front of funerals of veterans, have not killed anybody, but people love to go after Westboro. They love to, but then you find out in mosques that there are people that are cultivating a very pernicious ideology that ultimately ends in people's death, and we're like, whoa.
Because it's a church, because we have a constitution that protects religious freedom, and we ran away from people who were prosecuting.
We should be surveilling.
Let me just say, when you extend this to banning Muslims from coming in the country, as Trump has suggested, you start to understand this is about persecution, not about protection.
This is not, I'm not talking about banning.
Tell that to the
I'm talking about
49
us being persecuted, us being at risk.
But he was born in America, too. Like, I do think that there's kind of an umbrella issue. Can I ask you one last question real quickly?
Please.
On the imams. One of the things President Obama says is that talk about the banning Muslims or talking about radical Islamism is hurting our chances of having Muslims, peaceful Muslims, actually work with us and be allies.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No.
Okay.
I work very closely with our Muslim allies, especially the Jordanians and Egyptians. When we say this isn't about religion, we are undermining our Muslim allies. When the president of Egypt says this is about the hijacking of Islam, when the king of Jordan says we are losing the war of Islam to the bad guys, and we say, no, these are not the droids you're looking for, it's nothing to do with religion, we are actually endangering our fellow Muslim allies.
So 100% true, and I wish Mateen walked into a biker bar and he would have got some, let me tell you.
All right, Dr. Gorka, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And your Minion phone.